Hello, happy Friday, Sretan Petak. I'm Sara of Expat in Croatia, and that's Cam.
Hey.
Guess who's back? Back again.
And this is 5 Question Friday,
where we answer your questions that you submit to us
on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, expatinCroatia.com, email,
our consulting sessions.
You name it. They're coming from everywhere. And we put 5 of these questions together about Croatia and we answer them here.
So, hi, how are you? Thank you so much for being here.
So I have 5 wonderful questions for you this week. Okay, so we're going to dig into the questions now. I wanted to start this 5 questions with this particular question today. So this came from a friend of mine, actually, who's in my Foreign Business Owners Association. Ran into him unexpectedly, and we were having a chat, and he said to me, he's like, what is the biggest thing Croatians do not understand about being a foreigner in Croatia? And I love this question. I love this question a lot because I don't think that really comes up. I think, there's a lot of focus for foreigners on trying to understand the Croatian experience. But there's not a whole lot of talk about Croatians understanding the foreigner experience. And I'm not necessarily suggesting that they need to do that. This is a topic that I think is important because we've experienced this internally at Expat in Croatia, okay? We have most of our team is Croatian, okay? And most of the Croatians on our team are native Croatians who were born here, lived here their entire lives. And Croatians don't completely understand what it is that foreigners have to go through. Why would they? They don't have to go through the same kind of hurdles that we have to go through. So unless they ask and someone decides to explain it to them, they're not gonna get it. And so part of the training that we've done internally is to really kind of share that experience because we do serve a lot of native Croatians, and I am super proud of that. And our Croatian audience is growing every day. But we predominantly serve foreigners. So we always have to think about what a foreigner is going to go through. So there are kind of lots of discoveries that happen along that way. When you're talking about an experience or a situation that you're not necessarily in. So to go back to this question he's asking about what's the biggest things Croatians don't understand about being a foreigner in Croatia, I knew instantly what it was. From my perspective, it's the insecurity. It's the insecurity of residents. Most foreigners who are living in Croatia don't know if they're going to be able to stay more than a year. Most Croatians, once they file their application for residence, they don't know if they're going to be approved. Now, most applications are approved, but that doesn't mean that you still don't have that fear inside of you. Okay? And speaking from my own experience, every day that I didn't have long-term residence, which I didn't get long-term residence until I think I was here 7 years before my long-term residence was granted. So every day of those 7 years, I woke up and I can't say it was the first thought in my head, but every day I was like, one day Mopa's just going to show up at my door and say, it's time to go. Time's up. Get out. That's just when you're not a native, when you're not a citizen of the country you're living in, that just is always a risk that someday you're going to be kicked out. And that is a huge amount of pressure and stress that is going to be on you every single day of your life, And of course there's different levels to that in different countries, but I live in Croatia and this is the experience. So when you're a Croatian, you're very likely you're living in a house that's owned by you or your family. You're not having to hop around these different apartments. And on that note, especially down here in Split, we have such a huge housing problem. And you can rent an apartment and you're renting it for a year, but then in April, all of a sudden your landlord says, get out. I've decided I'm going to rent to tourists instead because I can make more money. If you're living in a house that you or your family owns, that's never going to happen to you. So there's just this tremendous amount of insecurity. Now, we do it anyways because we love it here. We love living in Croatia. And that's why we go through this process to try and stay here as long as we possibly can, despite not knowing what the future is going to hold and whether or not we can be here long term. I slept so much better after I got long-term residence, and I am immensely grateful for that opportunity, that I know that I can never be kicked out of this country and all I have to do is get a new ID every 5 years or something like that. Rob, I understand you're right, Sarah, that's the expat experience. Yeah, it totally is. Totally is. So yeah, I really want to thank him for asking that question because I hadn't been asked that before. Now, what I want to say in terms of how do you battle that insecure feeling? You battle it with information. That's how you battle it. And that's what we try and do every single day at Expat in Croatia is arm everybody with as much information as possible so that they can feel as confident as possible no matter what situation they're in, whether they're applying for residence or citizenship or they're just trying to pay a bill, or open up a bank account or, go to the doctor. Because there are so many situations where you can be taken advantage of just because you're a foreigner. Or someone sees that you're a foreigner and they just can't be bothered. Or it doesn't even matter whether you're a foreigner or not, and the person behind the desk still cannot be bothered and will tell you something, ne može, it cannot be done, just because they don't want to do it, But if you know that it can be done, if you have the excerpt from the law, if you have the rules in front of you, if you know for a fact that these things are true, then you can force their hand. So that's why in a lot of our posts, we have the law excerpt, both in Croatian as well as English, with a link out to the law so that you can reference it if you ever get into that kind of situation. So that's what we're all about, is information. Information is power. Now, if you're ever feeling insecure in your situation, you can always reach out to us. We're always going to be your advocate, okay? So, now on to our second question. The next question comes from Vesna on Instagram. How to get work for someone who is not speaking Croatian is in the field of IT. Okay, so it is more possible than ever for non-Croatian speakers to get jobs in Croatia. I want to get that out there, especially if you are in IT, because Croatia has a tech scene that is rapidly growing, especially around the area of Zagreb. So yes, this is definitely possible in the field of IT. What I would recommend in terms of finding those jobs is a few different things. So one, target companies, like do research on the biggest tech companies in Croatia and target them specifically. Second, I would look at the job ads. We have a guide on how to find a job in Croatia that includes the links to all of the different sites with job listings. I would like to point out in particular Danas Radim, which means today I work, and they have a live chat in English and they will help find you a job. I know they did that at one time, but I would check them out. Remats. They are big company here. They have hired a tremendous number of foreigners from abroad. Like they brought them over and gave them work permits. So that would be the first place to start for sure. So those would be my suggestions. Okay. I have one more suggestion. Follow Split Tech City. Split Tech City is a community down here in Split, obviously, and they bring together all the tech companies in the area, and they are very good about posting the jobs that are from their members on their Instagram profile. So if you follow their Instagram, you'll be able to see those jobs there, and they post them quite often. So I would check that out as well. Andres says, yeah, LinkedIn and Moi Passau. I always forget about LinkedIn. Yes, LinkedIn, actually, that is a great choice. LinkedIn is very active in Croatia, so you could definitely find a job there. And Moi Passau, for sure. Whenever we're looking for people, we always hire through Moi Passau. Doesn't mean that that's where they end up coming from, but we always post our jobs through Moi Passau. That is in our jobs guide. But incidentally, the last 3 people we hired, even though we put job ads in Moi Passau, they ended up finding the listings on Instagram. There we go. Okay.
This question came in personally for yours truly, and it was from Eva on IG. And she asked, Cam, what are the biggest challenges of living in Croatia for you? Oh, all right. Well, I always appreciate a question where like I really have to reflect on my personal experience. And I gotta say, the hardest or the most challenging parts of living here have not necessarily been the living here part, but what we left behind in Canada. And so there's a couple things that really have made living here challenging. First, not having my in-laws close. So my mother-in-law, my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, and my niece and nephew. We really spent a lot of time together, especially holidays. And, my mother-in-law used to come over with my niece and nephew almost every weekend, just to hang out and help out around the house and so that the kids could be together. It was always really important for us that our children, that my niece and nephew and our kids, that they had a really close relationship. And so I really miss them, and I really miss being with them for special times of the year, for Christmas, for, Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthdays. That's really, really hard. And not just like them, the in-laws, but like also like our kumovi and our close, first cousins. And it's really hard because, you're there always. And so you have these, you don't even realize that there are traditions and that, you guys are seeing each other on some sort of regular or irregular basis, but those opportunities don't really exist when you're living so far away. And so, I really miss stopping at my strina and striko's house and seeing, my first cousins. Like, that doesn't exist anymore. And so that's really, really tough. The other thing I miss is kolo in the diaspora. Now, I know many of you know that I dance in a group here. The kids are in tambura. Like, I have kolo, but it's not the same. It's not the same. I mean, I grew up in the GTA, and we are very, very rich in Croatian folklore. And we have some amazing groups that I've been a part of my whole life. Sljeme in Mississauga, Hrvatsko Prelo in Oakville, Kraljica Jelena in Kitchener. I miss these groups. I miss the kolo season and everything that comes with it. And so that's been really hard. So while I have, joined a group here, it's not the same. It's really not. So shout out to all my GTA Kolo Gruppe. Okay, so that's sort of what's been the toughest, most challenging part of living here is, that void that left. But I know what you're looking for in this answer. So there are two particular things that have been challenging, and unsurprising that it has to do with systems. So the first is the school system, and I've talked about this in the past. And it's really challenging to navigate and assist my kids in navigating a system that I didn't grow up in. And so, that first year and a half was pretty tough to understand what the school expected of me, what the school expected of the kids. Everything was new. And while people were gracious and helpful, I don't think that they wrapped their brain around the fact that like we had no clue how we were navigating this at all. So that was it was a learning curve. And I did things, and I've shared this in other episodes. I joined the parent council because I really wanted to get a better idea of how things functioned. And since then, I mean, my kids are in middle school here, and like, they got this now. They know. And they're the ones who are explaining things to me now, and they're navigating things so well, and I'm so proud of them. So that was a huge challenge, but like 2 and a bit years in, I feel like we've got it pretty handled. Now, I do have a really good friend whose son's preparing for high school, and like, there's a lot that awaits you because you have to apply to high school. So like, that'll be the next sort of level of challenge in terms of the school system that I'm anticipating. The second is no shock here, the healthcare system. I come from the Canadian healthcare system, and so you have to learn how to function within this one. And I'll be honest, in the beginning, I really overcompensated with the private healthcare system a lot because it was easier than trying to navigate hazazaol. So we went to, for example, a private dentist, but all of that adds up if you're constantly, dipping into the private system. And so I was like, oh, geez, man, I gotta figure this out. And so I really spent the last year sort of weaning myself off of the private, only using it when necessary, and really, just sort of making those final steps into functioning within the public healthcare system. So that included getting a dentist through Hazazaol, which, thank you, Daniela, for the tip on doing it through e-Građani, which was really, really cool. I did not know that I could sign up for a physician or any, you've got your 4 basic healthcare providers that go through Hazazaol, your family doctor, if you have kids, a pediatrician, your dentist, and your gynecologist. So I went on there and I signed up for a dentist. And so now we've got a dentist through Hazazaol, which feels really good. So, I feel like now we've gone through Emerge, we've had specialists, blood work, all of those things, and now we really understand it. So from a systems perspective, those were the 2 biggest challenges. But again, looking back, it's been 2 and a bit years, and that's not a long time to really delve in and figure out how things work. We're doing pretty good.
All right, our next question comes from Patty on the 5 Question Friday forum. If my Croatian citizenship application gets denied, will I be able to reapply again? All right, so she wants to know, if I'm denied for citizenship, can I reapply again? You cannot reapply again on the same basis. You have to choose a different basis if you're going to apply for citizenship again. So to give you an example, if you apply based on descent and you are denied, then your natural next step is to apply based on Article 16, which is member of the Croatian people. So whenever you don't qualify for descent based on some kind of technicality, then usually you can apply on Article 16. It's a bit more of a vague article, whereas descent, it's like, okay, you provide this, and then you should get citizenship. But with Article 16, it's not like that. It's like a narrative paragraph that is not very specific. So that's good in some respects because it means that it can cover a lot of different situations, but it's not good in other respects because it means that there's more discretion involved in the decision on the part of the ministry and the caseworker in particular. So to give you another example, I applied based on Article 12. If I were to get denied, then my natural next step would be to apply based on Article 8, which is naturalization. And I didn't do that in the first place because if I do Article 8, they would make me give up my American citizenship. And that's a decision I want to make. I don't want Croatia to make that decision for me. It's a very big decision to make that. And I'm just not ready. I'm not ready for that just yet. But if that were to happen, that would be the next step. But that is the extent of that energy that I'm going to put out into the universe because I believe that I will be granted Croatian citizenship and everything will be fine. Okay. We have all the guides on citizenship, so if you would like any of that, let us know. If you don't even know where to begin with that process, send us a DM and Cam will get you started, okay? So here's our last question. This comes from Jordan on the 5 Question Friday forum. I'm hoping to apply for the digital nomad permit through my current UK company to help me move to Croatia. If it's approved, what are the implications if my employment circumstances change? For example, if I want to change jobs or go freelance, would it affect my digital nomad status? Or is it the case that once your permit is approved, you're approved to stay for the full year? Once you're approved to stay for the entire year. Croatia is not going to come and check up on you to see if you still have the same employment. So you're good there. I do want to say, though, for full disclosure, because I don't want to give the appearance that I'm trying to advise people to mislead the government, because I'm not, and I don't think anyone ever should, okay? If you're on a residence permit that you do not actually qualify for, it is considered fraud, okay? Now, with a digital nomad permit, it is unlikely that anyone is ever going to pursue that with you. Sometimes people get fired, sometimes their employment changes, and that's just the way that it goes. I've even seen people who are retired who have used the digital nomad permit. So they applied for the permit in their last month of employment because they had that history, but then they moved to Croatia and they were retired, and that is, fraud, guys. But like I said, it's just Croatia doesn't have the infrastructure or the resources to be able to pursue something like that. But where it's going to be serious and you do have a higher risk is if you get married solely so that you can get residence in Croatia, but you're not in a romantic relationship and you're not living on the same address. And another example of that is I saw some people who were married, but they were not in a romantic relationship anymore. They had not lived together for years, but the husband was still leveraging family reunification with his spouse. That is also fraud. So that is a no-no. If you do that, you need to understand that there are serious risks with that. It actually says fraud in the law, so just keep that in mind, okay? Are you ready for the next one?
I am. Is everybody still here? Like, are we just totally...
They're wrapped with attention. Ooh. Okay. You recently started Croatian lessons, even though it appears to everyone looking at you that you are fluent in Croatian. In fact, you've told me that your first language was Croatian. What is the biggest struggle that you have with the Croatian language?
Yeah, great question. Great question. Oh, Hrvatski. Grammar. I hate. I'm going to say it. It's a strong word.
That's a very strong word, Cam.
I hate Croatian grammar. I love Croatian. I love speaking Croatian. When I get angry, I go right into Croatian.
I love listening to you speak Croatian.
Oh,
She's been on the phone like a number of times the last few days, and I just love listening to it.
I have a cool little story about that, and it'll shout out to our cum Chris. But years ago, it was the year we got married, and he was our photographer for the wedding, and his family's from Slavonia, and they're very it's hardcore Croatian, and I'm from Kai land, and it sounds very different, and when I got married, a whole lot of my family from the village here came to the wedding. And he was in our house when all my cousins were there, and they had just come, and it was like, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh my God, Cam does speak good Croatian. This is how they all talk. And he was just like, holy cow. He's like, it's so sing-songy. And I'm like, it is very sing-songy.
It is, yeah, totally. Like almost like a bit of a yodel.
Yeah, you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you spend too much time in Split. Oh my gosh, guys, we've been jabbing at each other. The Zagreb Split. But okay, so I do speak, I think, pretty well. Most people don't know that I'm not from here, that I wasn't born here, until I mess something up in my grammar, which happens a little bit but accent-wise, I'm pretty on par. But the thing is I say things a certain way because I'm familiar with how it sounds, right? So when I say something wrong, I almost always know that I've said it wrong, and I'll question it, and I'll reconjugate that verb or that ending, and with like a question mark, like, is it this or is it that? And someone will correct me. But that's really challenging when all you have to go off of is, I think that sounds right. And what's always been lacking for me is that I want to know that it's right because I know the rule or the pattern. And I've never had the opportunity to learn Croatian that way. I had the opportunity to learn French that way because we learned it in school. I mean, I can conjugate anything in French, right? Okay, I'm not that good, but I know how to conjugate. And I don't know how to conjugate in Croatian. I know how to do it, but I don't know why. and I don't know the rule, and I don't know the exception to the rule, you know? And like when I read the posts about grammar, like my head spins. And essentially I started taking lessons for the reason, because what I noticed was, even though my Croatian is great and even though I can hold my own, is that I was now communicating at a whole other level. I had to deal with teachers. I had to deal with doctors. I had to deal with phone calls of people like talking really, really fast. And there is like a nuance to all of these interactions, including the way that you speak in an email, the way that you speak at a parent-teacher meeting. All of these things, there's like these unwritten rules of the language, and I didn't know them. And so my goal and my motivation for taking lessons was to take that to the next level. And I went and I signed up for 3 weeks at Croaticum, and it was great. But it was what you said. It's like, it's a group of people. It was fabulous. I had a chance for reading, for comprehension, but I really needed that. I needed a teacher who could be like, that's what you need. And I'd be like, yes, that is what I need. And that's what the one-on-one lessons have been giving me. And my confidence has just skyrocketed. My skill set and my ability has skyrocketed. And most of the people here that know me, they're like, wow, like your Croatian, it was good before, but it's gotten significantly better.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And I'm very open. Like everybody who knows me knows, like, I want you to correct me, because the more I hear it said correctly, the more likely when I'm like, is that right? That I'll be more confident that it is. So like everyone who knows me knows that I want to be corrected. And I'm being corrected less and less. Yeah, yes. So that was my reason for it. And here's the thing, if you ever get to the point where you think you can't learn anymore, dude, you're thinking the wrong way. We can always learn more and learn from somebody and make ourselves uncomfortable and do things that are hard. And I think that moves us forward and makes us better people. And it was a great, oh, look at the hand claps.
Hi, Neve.
Oh, it's Neve. Oh, hi, Neve. Yeah, I think it was also a great example for my kids, right? Because you can always do better and be better and learn more. And I like to show that to my kids. I also like to send them out so I can have a break from them too, but I also like to show them that we can do hard things.
Well, we humans are evolutionary creatures, and we're meant to constantly change and improve.
Yeah. When I started doing, like the nominative, genitive, all of those that I still don't know off by heart, like that list of...
The prodigy?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like when I started, my son in grade 5 was like, Mama, you can borrow my grammar book, because there's like all of this stuff is in the grade 5 grammar book. And so as I was working through my homework, he came and he was like, I can help you with this. And I was like, oh my God, I love you. It was cute. I did use his book because I actually find that the kids' school books, because they're geared to like a 12-year-old, they really, really explain grammar well. Forget the apps, get children's books. They're especially repetitive ones, and like kind of that picture books, like between toddler and go. I found those so helpful. Sorry, it's okay.
A light bulb went off.
I saw it. It was very bright.
Bing! All right. To the audio learner, please correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding, so here, Croatian, English TV and movies are not dubbed. They have Croatian subtitles. But English kids movies are dubbed in Croatian.
Yes, we watched everything. I never saw Frozen in English until a few years ago.
I've never seen Frozen at all.
Yeah, but any parent out there will know that that's a huge commitment in the Croatian language to not have seen it. We watched everything in Croatian.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So if you're an audio learner, then maybe watching some kids' movies, especially ones that are familiar to you that you've already seen in English, since they're dubbed in Croatian, that could be a great choice.
I don't think that they're kids' movies. I just think they're animated films now, Sara.
Whoa. You want to take this outside?
No. I thought my brain was going to explode today, how hot it was.
Yeah, I came back and took like 2 brew and my head was pounding. It was pretty rough.
A lot of Netflix for... oh, hey, Steph. Again, awesome. I watched Friends in Croatian and English and subtitles in Croatian. Very helpful. Great idea.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I kind of want to watch Bridgerton in Croatian.
Yeah, well, that would be interesting given the kind of language that they use to speak. Mm-hmm. I'd be curious how they translate it.
So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this week's questions. So if there are any burning questions that you have, there is no limit to the kind of question that you can ask. Shoot it over to us. Drop a comment, and you may see it here on a future episode.
I hope you have a fabulous weekend. As Sarah always says, sretan petak. Happy Friday.
High five.
Ciao.
You're awesome too. Thank you for being here. Bye. Vidimo se. Ciao.